Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we'll return with round 19 of season 4 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here in Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live last week from Texas, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Fernando Alonso, after his mistakes in Singapore, he's back on track in the championship there. We've got a 29-point buffer over Max Verstappen, a 33-point gap over Fernando Alonso, and it's very quickly becoming just a 3-horse race at the top of the table. Lando Norris, he'll need a big weekend here if he wants to try and stay in that championship fight, but with back-to-back podiums for our fellow Englishman, he's, still very, very consistent right towards the end of the campaign. Just 6 races to go of the season. There are admittedly 2 sprint weekends still in that, so there is plenty that can change between now and the end of the year as well, of course. We're just looking to try and remain consistent, try not to lose out too many points, and pray that the engine doesn't go bang at some point in these final few rounds. We only have a 45-point buffer over Aston Martin as well in the Constructors' Championship, so we want to try and make sure that we try and lock that down for Ferrari by the end of the campaign as well there. And we've even got some rule changes announced ready for next season, so we're going to be working very, very busy behind the scenes to get those all sorted. They have affected the aero and the durability in this campaign, so yeah, we're going to have to try and get those all fixed up in the not too distant future as well. But yeah, get yourself subscribed if you're new around here. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs here on the channel at the moment, and yeah, let's head then here to Mexico.
This is a special place to go motor racing. We have the Fora Sol. The track is warming up nicely, and it is nearly time to set the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. What an atmosphere we have in Mexico City.
Well, based on Q1 results then, it really could be anybody's game this weekend. Aston Martin has always looked very fast. Red Bull and Max Verstappen love this venue. McLaren as well seem to be bringing some solid pace as well over one lap. And for Ferrari, well, the first sector we are very, very quick on. The rest of the lap we might struggle a bit more, but yeah, we've got to try and carry as much speed down these 2 huge straights around this Mexico City circuit. Almost 220 miles an hour when we spot our braking point down at turn 1. And then just got to try and dance our way over those curves through that first sector. Throttle pickup traction is also really, really important around this venue. You're throwing the car around quite a lot, but you can immediately see 6 tenths up on Carlos Sainz through that first sector. Admittedly, that is a V-carb, but that is a huge margin. A second up then on Carlos Sainz by the time we get round to the end of sector 2, but we have used all of my available battery on this lap, and this final sector, it feels like we're trying to steer a canal boat through the Fora Sol around this circuit. But at the final turn up towards the line, it's going to be a 1:13.0. That is the fastest time anybody's set. I reckon we could crack the 1:12s in Q3. And there we go then. You can see 4 cars from 4 different teams making up your top 4 there at the end of Q2. But we've got a 1/10 of a second margin over Alonso and George Russell there. Verstappen, he definitely seems to be struggling a little bit more this weekend. And well, it's pretty much commonplace now in this series. But Hamilton out in Q2, once again beaten by a Haas car. Well, I think that Q2 time, honestly, was a really, really good benchmark for us and something we can try and chase in Q3, but we know what the AI will do. They'll just find that little bit more. They'll explore the limits of grip and traction just that bit extra and try and carry the speed through at that middle sector one final time. So we're going to try and once again use a lot of our battery down in towards turn 1. We are really banking on gaining a lot of time through that first sector and then trying to lose as little of it as we can through the rest of the lap. They're going to be super careful though over those curbs through the first couple of turns. See if we just get a little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the corner there. Lance Stroll is currently the benchmark, and again we go purple, and again we are 4 tenths up on that Aston Martin. Nice and tidy as we try and put the throttle down. This section of corners is so horrible, so tight and narrow, and you really just have no feel over what the back end is doing, and then you make your way in towards the S's. Not very accurate to real life still. I'm desperately hoping we get an update to Mexico on F125, but ultimately, yeah, I don't think I'm holding my breath either. Half a second up on the Canadian now, so we do continue to stretch our legs through Sector 2. Leclerc only good enough down in P7, I believe, at the moment. So hopefully we're going to get the better of our teammate there. Through the final corner we go. Nice and easy on that throttle. Up towards the line. A 12.9. But Verstappen has done a 112.8. The Dutchman, as he so often has done around this circuit, can just find that little bit extra. As we are about to start then our final lap of qualifying here. Verstappen still top of that pile. He loves this circuit. He's dominated Grand Prix here so many times in the past. And this is going to be the perfect way to try and dominate another one then. As out of the final corner we go. Open up that DRS once again. Try and just use a careful amount of our ERS as well. It can have huge ramifications by the time you get round into the second part of the lap there and all. Just struggling to meet the apex through turn 1. Can we get nice and tidy on the throttle on the exit though? Yes, we will. And we end up still finding ourselves in the green. I'm not expecting us to need to find much more here. But we do just need that little bit extra. I want to try and get on pole. Russell out of nowhere now. There's a 1:0.12.7. So certainly, yeah, more and more times are improving by the AI. And that goes to show that the grip is still there. So we try and chuck our way into the S's there. Just bounce around over those curbs there. It doesn't look like Verstappen's been able to improve again. So George Russell, he might be on for back-to-back poles. Of course, took that one in the sprint race at Kota last weekend. And then struggled a bit more when we moved into the GP. But can we spoil George Russell's party bouncing around again as we make our way through those final couple of corners? We are 2/10 up at the moment. This is going to be mighty close when I get round to the line. I think we've only gone and done it.
You've got pole position.
P1, baby. That was a good lap. Our 3 drivers getting into the 1:12s at the end of qualifying, but it's ourselves ahead of George Russell and Max Verstappen in the end. Oscar Piastri will line up P4. The big shock, though, Fernando Alonso, P9 on the grid. So he's going to have his work cut out as we head into the race. But, I mean, we've got a golden opportunity once again to try and just extend our championship lead.
In the 60s, Mexico City would be the season-ending race. That's no longer the case, but it is always a party in these parts. Welcome to the Mexico City Grand Prix. We're 2,285 metres above sea level. That is one of the key details of this circuit. It tests the driver's fitness and their engine's efficiency. The other one is the atmosphere. An incredible crowd, a raucous crowd, and there's 30,000 of them waiting for the drivers at the end of this 2.6-mile lap in the Foro Sol. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Firestarter lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Norris, Stroll, Leclerc, Gasly, Sainz, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Ocon, Albon, Behrman, Tsunoda, Vesti, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton and Zhou Guanyu. That's it then. It's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. Well, they're having a better time than their teammates so far this year. How do you keep that momentum going?
Yeah, they have. And it's, rule number 1, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you. And yes, the cars can vary and set up from race to race and depending on who has which style, but essentially they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do, and it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
Well, with almost a 100-point buffer over Charles Leclerc, I'd like to think we're doing better than him so far this season. But Alonso then, things go from bad to worse for the Spaniard. Grid penalties as we head into GP Sunday. So that means, yeah, Verstappen and I is going to be a battle between us, I think, for the win today. But George Russell, he's more than happy to spring a surprise. Still yet to win a real race in this campaign. Could he become, I believe, our 8th different winner of the year? Only time will tell. But let's do this thing, though, here in Mexico City. It's time. 5 red lights down on the grid. Oh, It's a mighty long hole, but it is going to be lights out and away we go there. Maybe a little bit overzealous on the throttle. Max Verstappen, though, has nailed that as we're trying to tuck into the slipstream of the Red Bull down in towards turn 1. I'm not going to give it up, though, without a fight in towards that first corner there as we'll try and have a look to the outside of the Dutchman once again, wheel to wheel with our championship rival there. We're still side by side through turn 2 and turn 3, but we get the power down around the outside through turn 4 there. Looks like Lance Stroll has had a brilliant start as well, up into P3 then, ahead of Sergio Perez. So Russell has absolutely crumbled off the start of this Grand Prix there. Perez now at his home race, almost up to the podium. So what a start that has been for Sergio Perez, who I believe ended up lining up 9th place on the grid here, but he has moved his way forward on this opening lap there to immediately try and give himself a good chance. Now, Perez, I will say, in previous games, in previous seasons, he's got to be the unluckiest driver I've ever had at Mexico. I've never known someone get as many mechanical failures at their home Grand Prix. I think only I can rival him for bad luck inside the F1 series, but will he make it to the end of this one? Will he be able to try and challenge? I mean, again, Sergio's still another driver yet to win a race this year. Not expecting that to happen, but you never know.
Use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Here comes Verstappen, though, back down towards turn 1. I don't want to try and battle with the Dutchman too aggressively early on. There's a chance to try and build up the gap over Lance Stroll, and we've got to try and take it as well there. So Verstappen will move back through. And yeah, he is only interested in trying to keep his championship hopes alive. Well, if Lance Stroll wants to be helpful for his teammate today, then he'll really try and battle with Verstappen and I and try and slow us up as best as we can, as now with the DRS enabled 223 miles an hour. We just touch there as we make our way back in towards turn 1.
Good job.
I mean, yeah, Verstappen, I think he knows down the straights, if we're the one behind, we're not going to be behind for very long, as Stroll already, though, almost out of the 1 second zone. That would be really, really handy if we can just get him out of the range. Fernando Alonso update. I think he's made a few spots up on lap 1, but he's still, yeah, down in about P17. I mean, Verstappen is just relentless early on in this GP, though. We've seen it so many times. When the Dutchman wants to try and get back into the lead of a Grand Prix, he won't really kind of sit back and just let things unfold for a few laps. He will immediately go into full attack mode, and that doesn't actually look like it's worked out for him. Lance Stroll now will move up into P2 then of the GP. We haven't seen Stroll this hungry since all the way back at probably Canada when he took that home Grand Prix victory. But that might have tripped them both over now, because we are again right on the cusp of the 1 second buffer. I tell you what, I've got no idea what's going on behind me right now, but instantly the field has really been spread out. We've got a 2 second gap to Verstappen. He's then got nearly a 3 second gap to Perez behind him, who has suddenly gone back past Lance Stroll. So, I mean, it works nicely for Verstappen and I. It means we just need to worry about each other into the next few laps, but I think this genuinely might be the most kind of spread out I've ever seen the AI on this game after just a handful of laps. Normally they're all over each other, at least until the pit stop window. Definitely Verstappen is still hungry here. You can see he's got that gap back under a second again.
7.2 seconds.
Charles Leclerc, yeah, just continuing to drop away there, but yeah, I'm quite surprised Russell has struggled as much as he has early on in this race. I really did think McLaren had kind of made that step forward now, but with Lando Norris further down the order as well, I just think, yeah, they're once again, McLaren are that one team, it feels like, inside this game, where just every season, any kind of championship hope they've got just starts to run out of steam. Yeah, I think, though, more importantly for us, we've got bigger issues. Verstappen now is right up my gearbox again. I think he's probably going to go past me pretty soon. And here we go then. I think there's an inevitability as to what's about to happen. Max Verstappen tucked up in the DRS, and goodbye, sir. The Dutchman, yeah, using some of his battery. I mean, yeah, the DRS zone here, like I've said before, where F124 doesn't kind of simulate the air density here in Mexico, obviously where the altitude is so high, it's a very, very different race to what you get IRL. I, though, can't watch Max just bolt away. I've got to try and stay with him. Well, looking at the minimap right now, this race honestly looks like something out of 2021. Lewis Hamilton versus Verstappen that year, of course, were just waltz away from the rest of the field, just attacking each other lap after lap. That's basically what we've got so far here in Mexico. 8 seconds now the gap to Stroll and Checo behind us. It is the battle of the number 2s. A bit further back as well, Verstappen. I don't think he was expecting me to try and keep the nose down the inside there. We've got yellows out. Oh, that's a car further back. I was going to say, if that's Verstappen, suddenly we're in big trouble in terms of action in this race. But I think that might be... Is that a McLaren falling to the wayside? No, I think it's Perez. It is Perez. So I mentioned it at the start. Sergio Perez has no luck in Mexico on this game. I told you guys he gets mechanical failures here. And it's taken 12 laps, sorry, 11 laps even. And it's happened again. Also, that's going on for one Red Bull car. The other one is still going to once again try to attack us back down towards turn 1. I'm happy just to let him go for it sometimes. You know, we know we got the pace. We can do what we want against him when we need to. But I mean, there's no real point risking anything too early.
Next part of the track, no overtaking through the yellow flags.
I mean, surely if you're Verstappen, you'd be worried now about obviously having the same issues as your teammate, but you can't really afford to drive any slower. Well, I can't help but feel that Verstappen is just that bit quicker than me. He's just looking to try and break free at the front of the order.
And you're going to be on hards next time.
I mean, could it be worth trying to go for an undercut here? I'm not sure it is. I reckon we'd come out in too much traffic with the AI further behind us. Once again, we're going to get the run. Once again, Verstappen is just going to park that car a little bit defensively. Make me second guess what our options are in through those first couple of corners. Oh, we try and get the throttle down on the exit. Just a momentary bit of wheel spin there. As can we have a look down the inside? I've fired that in way too aggressive. As Verstappen will try and come back at me. That was a Max Verstappen dive bomb on Max Verstappen. And we're going to be side by side again up through the top of the circuit. Verstappen, though, once more. He's got such good traction in that Red Bull car right now. Able to get the power down and will stay in the lead. Here we go then. We're going to try it again on the Dutchman. As we try and make our way back down towards someone. You can just see he was using a lot of battery there. But as soon as that red light starts flashing, we close in. Well, that might explain why we're struggling with traction then. We've actually got a little bit of overheating issues early on in this race. Hasn't been a major problem for us, but as we move into the second stint on those hards, we are going to have to consciously try and look after them a little bit more. Well, I'm going to see what Verstappen does at the end of this lap then as he flies back past us in towards turn 1. If he pits, I'm going to stay out. If he stays out, I'm going to try and pit here. We're going to go with the alternate strategy. I've also got to be careful that we don't trip over Leclerc. With Alonso down the order, there is a huge chance as a team for us to build up, a big points margin once more over Aston Martin this weekend. I mean, yeah, guessing obviously they needed to take grid penalties with Fernando, but the AI, they really struggle to make their way back through here. Well, is Verstappen coming in? Is Verstappen going to stay out here? If he does, will the overcut be powerful for us? Verstappen does dive in, so we've got to hope now that he comes out in a little bit of traffic. We'll keep our eye on the mini-map. Hopefully that's going to be one thing we avoid. Oh, and if you have a look then on the mini-map, yeah, Verstappen, he's come out actually in some clear air, so that hasn't worked out as nicely for us as I was hoping it would. Pierre Gasly, no idea what happened to him in the early laps, but he had to box quite early. So he's just gone and claimed new fastest lap of the day. There's no way he's trying to go to the end, surely, on whatever tyres he's on. And yeah, for us, oh, Verstappen, he's come out in some clear air, so he's going to be able to work those hard tyres up quite nicely. And we just got to try and keep the car on the road. This is going to be a bit risky by Ferrari, because both cars are going to be peeling into the pit lane on the same lap here from a 1-2 position. Nonetheless, so as we round our way through that final turn, nice and tidy. We'll nudge the wall apparently on the way in, just so I get the car slowed down in the right position there. But I'm a bit worried that Verstappen's going to get quite the undercut on us at this stage of the race. So we're going to have to try and work the hard tyres towards the end of the afternoon.
Stop now. Okay, mate, that's it. Go, go, go. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
I mean, we're in and out pretty quickly, but here comes Verstappen then out of the pits. And yeah, he's got a big jump. So Verstappen is going to be flying along then over these next few laps. Gasly's definitely not going to the end on those medium compound tyres. But fair play to him. If he's had to pit and change the wing early on, he's really brought himself back into the fight. Well, looking at the pace Verstappen's got in that Red Bull at the moment, I'm really starting to struggle to see a way we get back in this fight by the end of the afternoon. We'll need a safety car or something. Oh, we've got yellows out again. As soon as I say that, someone else... Oh, that's Stroll. That's Stroll now out of the GP then. So we said it was a battle between the two number 2s early on. And I don't know whether they made contact or something that's given both of them issues that have taken them out of the race. But Lance Stroll, our second casualty of the afternoon, and maybe quite luckily for Max Verstappen, we haven't got a safety car because of it. But we are setting good, consistent lap times right now, and now I've just had a few laps to stabilise the hard compound tyres as well. I know that we hopefully won't overheat them by the end of the GP, but 13 laps to go. That gap to Verstappen has come down by a few tenths, but we've just got to keep trying to utilise this Ferrari straight line speed. Basically, the plan is use as much battery as I can down the straights, try to close in as much time as possible, and then try and lose as little of it through the twisty bits. It's a rogue plan, but it's kind of all we can hope for. Oh, and there we go. Pierre Gasly back into the pit lane then late on in the day. I'm intrigued to see where he's going to re-emerge in all of this.
They're holding us up now, so let's please try and get past as soon as possible and get on with our race. Push, push. Gap to your teammate behind, 15.3 seconds.
I wish Verstappen was holding me up at this stage of the Grand Prix, Mark. I'd love to know that I can overtake him by lap 29. Just trying to keep up with him is difficult enough right now. I think shut up and let me drive is probably the message I'll send back. Oh, come on, that gap now under 2 seconds to Verstappen. We are still usually going about a tenth quicker than him a lap, but I know we've got to try and get in that DRS range, and then the time will just slowly come to us. 10 laps to go, though, after this one. It is starting to run out. I feel like Lando Norris at the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix pushing on in Max Verstappen, you know, one of the tracks that he has dominated for so many years. But just like Lando, are we going to be able to try and make the move? And is it going to involve an accident? Well, the other issue we've got, of course, is there's only one DRS detection point around this lap. And that comes just on the exit here. That white line that runs across the road is where the 1 second is measured. And that is one of the corners where Verstappen is so much quicker than us. We easily lose a good 2-3 tenths through the Forest Sol. And then, obviously, we've got to try and claw it all back again down the straight without the help of the DRS. 8 laps to go. That gap now, you just see, gets down to a second by the time we make it into turn 1, but it will open up once more. I mean, look at this. We've got the DRS down this short chute, but yeah, that isn't really that helpful unless you're right on the gearbox of the car in front, making your way out. But as we just try and put the power down through that complex, I think we've done it. I think that time round we were inside the range of Verstappen. So as we start lap 30 then of this GP, it is all still to play for here in Mexico. And now we could just save a little bit of battery again, try and plan our full attack against the Dutchman here. Formula 1 racing is a bit like chess. You've got to try and plan as many moves ahead as possible and hope then that you don't miss something and the other guy puts you into check immediately. Well, Verstappen has easily led the majority of laps in this Grand Prix, but ultimately only one lap really matters come the end of an afternoon. 226 miles an hour as we just pull out of the slipstream. And that has been 15 qualifying laps to try and get back to the Dutchman here, but we are not going to give up on this. I want to try and get the win. Well, once again, I feel like there's a bit of an inevitability as to what's about to happen. It is going to be a game of chess towards the end, like I said. Verstappen and I, we've both got to try and plan when we want to go for moves, where to save the battery, where to utilise that extra horsepower boost as well. But Verstappen, I think he'll just want to give me as much dirty air as he can. He knows how much we struggle through the middle sector, so track position, I think, especially for him, is going to be really important towards the end of this race. I mean, we dropped so far behind him through that final sector, but as long as we stay within 1 second, it doesn't really matter. As you can see how much speed we've got. Max Verstappen again trying to use his own battery in defense, but it is pointless. It is a futile exercise for him. 4 laps left here in Mexico. And we are back to the lead once again. I don't know how many times it has chopped and changed between us. But, I mean, in that time, we built up a 15-second lead over Russell. No one has been able to hold a candle to Verstappen and I this weekend. But this win could and probably will have massive championship ramifications. Oh, Verstappen again. Really good traction off of turn 3 to the outside. The Dutchman's going to go. We're going to try and keep the nose there, though. And Verstappen just forced to back out of it in the end. We had the car down the inside. He was never ahead. So we're perfectly within our right there to try and squeeze him out. But are we once again going to see him get the DRS back down in towards turn 1? I mean, he's not going to drop away, is he? Out of that 1 second range here. I mean, even with all this battling going on, George Russell is barely taking any time out of the pair of us. We've got almost a 30-second lead over our teammate towards the end of this race. Like I said, Verstappen and I this afternoon, it has been shades of Hamilton and Verstappen back in 2021, where they would be battling throughout an entire race. There'd be 2 and 3 stop strategies coming out just to try and get the jump on each other, and they'd still end up a minute in front of anybody else. That's how insane this season is getting right towards the end of the campaign. Looking on the mini-map, I think Alonso has now got himself into the points, but less than 2 laps left. Verstappen again will make his move. He will pounce to the inside down at turn 1, and now we just got to try and sit close enough that we can get the run potentially onto the last lap of the race there. A little bit of a wobble.
21.7 seconds.
Mark, I could not stress to you enough how little I care about that right now. We're battling for the win against our big championship rival, and you're telling me about our teammate 30 seconds behind. Well, as long as I don't make any mistakes through the Forest Soul, surely we're going to be able to try and once again get the jump on Verstappen here. But this weekend, what a race the crowd have been able to enjoy as well. This has genuinely felt like a good 2024 F1 dogfight that we've come to see in both real life and inside this series. But overtake mode once again enabled. 1 more lap to go here in Mexico. Are we going to be able to get the run on Verstappen? Back down towards someone. The Dutchman, he's going to swing defensive. To the outside will go. And once more, he hasn't got the legs on us. I think he thought about trying to just defend or fling the car back up the inside there. We actually get a little bit out of shape through those first couple of turns once more. And Verstappen, though, I'm not convinced he's got enough. We have had slightly fresher tyres throughout the second half of the race as well. But for the Dutchman today, it looked in the midpoint that he would just control this one and just keep us at arm's length. But we worked so hard to get back in that DRS range. And when you got a car that can be so much quicker in a straight line, we now have just got to try and park the bus through this final sector of the Grand Prix there. Will Verstappen be able to do anything through this short DRS zone? He's going to close in on us once again. That gap will continue to come down. There was all a little bit of a mistake in towards the stadium there. Luckily, Verstappen can't really look for anything as the confetti flies here in Mexico City. It is going to be pole position and race victory here in Mexico. That is exactly what we need.
Yes, 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 guys, yes! Come on, boys!
It's a performance to be proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners today.
And as we get closer to the end of this year's championship, every race that you put together well now really sets you up for crossing the finish line in the championship in the best possible position. And it's moments like this right now that really matter.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Well, just 0.3 of a second in it when we get to the checkered flag there. The gap after 36 laps was not much more than the gap was after 1 lap in qualifying between myself and Max Verstappen. And although he might be smiling on the outside, he will be livid that he wasn't able to convert that to race victory. And once again, we open up another 7 points in the Drivers' World Championship there. George Russell ends up in quite a lonely P3 ahead of Leclerc. Esteban Ocon, again, getting big points for Alpine. He is really having a strong end to this season there, with Piastri ahead of Norris, Carlos Sainz ahead of Alonso and Hamilton, who came from the back of the field to both recover to a few points there. Haas will be a bit gutted. Hulkenberg down in 11th in the end, and Pierre Gasly down in P13 on his two-stop strategy there, with just Stroll and Perez are only two drivers that failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do, though, to our World Championship standings? Well, we cross over the 300-point buffer, and we've now got a 36-point lead over Verstappen, a 56-point lead over Fernando Alonso. So once again, the Spaniard, with his back up against the wall, he needs to try and get a couple of wins late on in the campaign there. We open up our lead over Ferrari as well massively, sorry, over Aston Martin massively in the Constructors to 81 points now. So hopefully, even if Leclerc has a couple of rough races, we can just try and chalk that away towards the end of the campaign. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready in Brazil. We got another sprint weekend coming up. That is going to be a good one.